This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The Department of Primary Industries is facing growing pressure to finish an investigation into what killed 16 ponies crossing Bass Strait in January. It's still not known where or how the ponies died, but the owner has launched legal action against the Spirit of Tasmania operator in the Victorian Supreme Court.
7 months after they died crossing Bass Strait, questions into what killed 16 ponies remain unanswered, and patience is running out.
It shouldn't take 7 months for a government agency to understand what caused the deaths of those beautiful ponies.
The ponies had been competing at the Barnbougle Polo and were in transit back to Victoria when they died. Today, the Department of Primary Industries would only confirm it is still examining the deaths.
This investigation, it must be allowed to run its course, and information will only be released when it is appropriate to do so, in line with confidentiality and legal requirements.
Even Labor wants answers for the hold-up.
It's been 7 months, and I think that is long enough for Tasmanians to be informed about what exactly happened and what actions TT Line are taking to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
But the owner isn't waiting, already pointing the finger at Spirit of Tasmania operator TT Line. Documents lodged with the Victorian Supreme Court show Andrew Williams is suing the company and QUBE Holdings, arguing the horses' deaths were caused by the defendant's negligence in failing to provide a safe environment, failing to have adequate inspection routines, and failing in adequate monitoring and air ventilation. The claim also states the horses had been 5 generations in the making, valued at $639,000. Mr. Williams is also suing for $100,000 in loss of wages and profit. He did not return calls to Southern Cross News. TT Line also declined to comment until the investigation has concluded. Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania's gun laws will once again be up for debate, but this time the community will have its say. Politicians today scrambled to come up with a new plan after the government backed away from controversial proposed changes to firearm laws earlier this month.
Plans to change Tasmania's gun laws now facing a new round of scrutiny. Earlier this month, the government backed away from its contentious firearms policy, which would have extended licence durations and allowed greater support to gun suppressors.
It is a very sensitive issue because it brings back memories in people and feelings that are best left in the past.
But now it's back to the drawing board to come up with a new plan. Lower house politicians from all sides will consider more than 100 public submissions from Tasmanians both for and against change before any new laws are made.
It's only sensible to continue with a committee inquiry to ensure that everybody who wants to have their say on Tasmania's firearms laws, which are and should remain the strongest, that they can have their say.
This is a mess of the Liberals' own making. In order to pander to the gun lobby, they sought to introduce changes to gun laws that would weaken gun laws in breach of the National Firearms Agreement.
The committee due to report back by March. Meanwhile, the government has hinted at making changes to grant compensation to a broader range of family violence victims. The move comes after the government successfully argued against a court decision, which would have paved the way for victims of emotional abuse to be compensated.
I took absolutely no pleasure in having to do that, but as First Law Officer of the state, and indeed in government, sometimes these difficult decisions need to occur.
We need to see if Elise Archer is serious about acting to better protect the victims of family violence. We need to see some changes brought into legislation as a matter of priority.
Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
A woman has been charged by police for allegedly stabbing a 24-year-old man on Monday night. Police were called to Huon Court in Rochelle around 8 p.m. after the man suffered puncture wounds to his neck. Today, a 28-year-old Newnham woman was charged with wounding and assault. She was bailed to appear in the Launceston Magistrates Court in October. Police are still appealing for anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. Tasmania is set for another bumper visitor season, with tourism operators gearing up for an 8% increase in cruise ship visitation. But those vessel numbers don't equate to more people, with the focus on attracting visitors who spend more.
It's scenes like this Tasmanians are getting used to, and it's only going to get busier.
Last year we had 59 ships visiting Hobart, and this year we've got 63. It's an 8% increase in ships.
There's only a slight increase in the number of tourists, however, as the focus centres around vessels with less capacity and visitors who spend more.
And that really triggers with the same brand messages that Tasmania is pushing out all over the place, which is rather than the sort of mass market.
But there are challenges, and the Cruise Association says it's a sensitive balance between offering tourists the opportunity to see somewhere unique and preserving serenity.
Because you actually have an ability to manage the timings in terms of arrivals, you actually have some control over the passengers and where they're going.
That serenity includes our east coast, with ongoing concerns about vessels preparing to anchor in Wineglass Bay.
I believe that there's 2 visits and they are only there for 45 minutes, so I think the likelihood of people, high percentage of people walking into Wineglass Bay and seeing a cruise ship is limited.
But we are talking to them to help them to understand that the brand message we want to promote is to keep the wilderness areas wild and to not necessarily have the cruise ship in those wild areas.
Last season, passengers and crew poured almost $30 million into the local economy during their sail south. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Infant formula maker Bellamy's Organic is tonight back in the black, announcing a $43 million net profit for the last financial year. It comes after the Tasmanian-based company recorded a loss of almost $1 million last year, but financial experts say they're not out of the woods just yet.
It's a glimmer of hope for a company that nearly went under just 2 years ago. Infant formula maker Bellamy's Organic releasing its financial year results today, boasting a $43 million net profit.
And this has been largely as a result of increased sales, both domestically but also an improvement in their distribution through their Chinese exporting.
Some poor business decisions with China led to a share price collapse last year and the ousting of the board and CEO.
The stock has recovered somewhat over the last 12 months as a result of a turnaround. However, the share price has come under pressure in recent times because of this inability to be able to sell their Chinese labelled products over the last 6 months.
Bellamy's was unavailable to speak with us on camera today, but said in a statement, the financial year results set a new high for the business, delivering a 37% increase in sales, and that the medium to long-term outlook remains compelling, and foundations have been laid with an ambition to build a $500 million revenue business by 2021. But the company isn't out of the woods just yet, with approval still pending from China's State Administration for Market Regulation for its recently acquired canning facility in Melbourne. Without this approval, it means Bellamy's can't sell directly to Chinese stores. And it's unclear when or if that permit will be approved. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
Young Tasmanians living in areas of low employment are being given a hand up as part of a program to help them hit the workforce. One participant says his life has done a complete flip thanks to the mentorship and guidance provided during his course.
For 23-year-old Cameron Lowe, the Build Up Tassie program's a life changer.
Getting my focus off, negative and bad like drugs and alcohol and everything else, just concentrating and doing work.
He's grown up in Bridgewater, and while he loves where he's from, it's an area marred by levels of low employment. He was one of the 22% of people in the area, aged between 15 and 24, without secure work.
I've actually grown as a person and met a lot of people around a lot of businesses and had a lot of job opportunities.
The program's designed to support young people in Hobart's northern suburbs.
23 of our crew have been able to be linked into employment and training in opportunities.
Students upskilling on projects such as building these units, 400 to be built over the next 6 years.
So we're not only addressing housing, we are addressing complex social change through looking at not only the homes, but the people in the homes and the communities that we work in.
It's run by Centacare Evolve Housing and Catholic Care Tasmania, with funding for student scholarships from the My State Foundation.
We absolutely believe that we have a recipe to improve this community.
Cameron is now focused on getting into university, while another student, Josh, is kicking goals in his new job.
I was unemployed for 4 years and sending out over 50 resumes a month, so it was very tough.
Opening doors to opportunities that may have otherwise been missed. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A new initiative to teach our children about healthy eating has been launched in Hobart today. The Well-Fed Tasmania van will now travel far and wide, dishing up fresh and healthy meals at different schools across the state. Politicians lined up to be among the first to test out its lunch menu.
It might pop up at a school canteen, it might pop up at an event, and we'll just be showcasing the local fresh Tassie produce and different ways to serve and eat it.
The van will focus on spending time in Tasmania's rural and regional areas. And now to more of the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Rising bank stocks drove a late surge on the ASX after Westpac announced a hike in mortgage rates, adding to earlier gains from easing global trade tensions. The ASX 200 index has risen by 47.5 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 73.1 US cents and 62.56 euro cents.
To the TSL, and they were considered North Launceston's biggest premiership threat at one stage of the season, but after bowing out of finals yet again, Clarence have been left pondering what could have been. We caught up with the Roos coach today to discuss the season that was.
A slow start to 2018 led into a mid-season roll for the Roos, with the side claiming 6 scalps on the trot, including a thrilling 2-point win over flag favourites North Launceston at Blunston.
We won some really good games this year against quality opposition, so we think that what we're doing is the right stuff. We need a bit of luck.
Cursed with injury for the back half of the season, the ever-changing Roos list led to a form slump. Dropping from 2nd to 4th on the ladder, Clarence's year ended in disappointing fashion with a 58-point loss to Lauderdale in last weekend's elimination final.
We probably need to start reshaping the list, but we've seen with Richmond and the Western Bulldogs and North Launceston that things can turn around pretty quickly. We've still got a really good core group there, so I wouldn't imagine we'd be falling too far if we fall at any.
Recently signing a 2-year extension as playing coach, the former Richmond recruit aspires to eventually progress through the country's footballing ranks.
The opportunity opened up, you'd love to coach at a higher level. But look, I'm really enjoying my time at TSL level. I think I'm getting better every year. I learned a lot last year, and I've probably learned even more this year.
But for now, the Roos join the D's and the Tigers in the hunt for fresh talent in the hopes of capturing the cup that's eluded them since 2010.
Sometimes the rub of the green doesn't go your way. It probably hasn't gone our way the back end of this year. So you can look at it two ways. Is it glass half full?
After a long and extensive search, Football Federation Tasmania has finally found the man to lead the organisation forward, and improving the state's outdated facilities to ensure continued growth in the sport is at the top of his priority list.
He's only been in the state 2 days, but Bulkley wasted no time getting down to business.
I have a big vision of continuing to grow our game to make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible.
With soccer's profile in the state on the rise, thanks to some impressive performances on the National FFA Cup stage in recent years, the new CEO says one of his first orders of business will be fighting to secure more funding for the sport.
To make sure, as you guys would be aware, that the facilities for our sport are at a level they need to be, so that we have enough training and playing facilities, and they're of a quality that they need to be. I don't think that has kept pace with our game and the speed of growth.
Replacing Mike Palmer, who spent 4 years in the top job, the former FFA Head of Game Development says he'll also support any future push for an A-League side following the latest failed bid, and has no plans to join the revolving door of Tasmanian sporting CEOs anytime soon.
To get, achieved with the support of the team here and the stakeholders what we want to achieve. So there is no time on it.
11 degrees today for Hobart. Launceston reached a top of 13, which was the state's top, and 12 degrees for Burnie and Devonport. 13 also for King Island and St Helens, 12 at Smithton, Low Head and Strawn, 11 degrees for Grove, Ouse, Campania, Maydena and Friendly Beach, with 5 degrees at Lyawini. Scattered cloud in the east today, clear skies there to the west. Deep lows visible over the Tasman and southwest WA. Extensive low to mid-level cloud bands are spiralling into the lows, with upper level cloud over South Australia but clear elsewhere. Tomorrow, a deep low will move slowly east across the Tasman. A ridge lies over the eastern half of the country. A low in the Bight anchors a cold front that extends into South Australia. North to northeasterly winds tomorrow, 15 to 20 knots about the northwest, 5 to 15 knots elsewhere, increasing to 30 knots later through the west, with seas between 2 and 3 metres. And there is a strong wind warning current for western coastal waters from Low Rocky Point to Stanley. On the forecast tomorrow, 15 degrees in Hobart, Cygnet and New Norfolk, late rain expected. 14 in Launceston, 13 degrees for Devonport, 12 for Campbell Town, late rain across those centres. Similar conditions through the northwest, 12 in Burnie, 14 for Strawn, 13 at Smithton, with 14 and late rain for St Helens and Fingal, 15 and sunny at Swansea. Rain expected on Friday, clearing through the southeast early on, tending to showers and contracting to the west a little later on. Showers to the west, the south and Bass Strait Islands on Saturday. Sporadic showers elsewhere throughout the day, with showers in the west and the far south on Sunday, but fine elsewhere. Around your major centres tomorrow, 17 and showers in Perth, 20 for Adelaide, 14 and rain in Melbourne, 16 for Canberra with 18 and sunny in Sydney. And a few clouds about at the moment in Hobart, 6 degrees, 7 for Launceston and clear and 8 in Devonport. Back to you, Jo.
Lovely. Thanks so much for that, Sam.